You guys, we have a treat, an actual HVAC contractor who is an employer also, Dustin Cole-Air.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, so I have a bunch of things that I want to ask him. And if you guys have questions, remember you post them below. I'll deal with them personally. And also I'm going to drag him over to deal with comments and questions. First of all, how long have you been an HVAC contractor?
23 years. Second generation. My dad started the company in 84. And I got into it when I was about 14, 15 years old.
Okay. So first question that you always have to ask yourself when you're a professional in these trades and you want to start getting into testing, which is the foundation of all performance, right? Mm-hmm. Is, am I doing a bad job? And for somebody like you, you're also asking, was my dad doing a bad job?
Right.
How did you not cry at that moment?
It was tough. You lead into it thinking that you're doing great work. And you look at everybody else's and you say, oh man, we're great. We're doing above and beyond. You peel that cover back and you find out all the things that you didn't know, that you thought you knew. It is a tough pill to swallow to start going down that journey of making things right and going back to these jobs and having the integrity to actually resolve these issues. It's tough. And then there's the transition point. David Richardson has a great story about this. There's that transition point where you start fighting the good fight and no one wants to hear you.
Because you're the only guy in town.
You're the only guy in town.
You must be trying to upsell me.
That's right. And so you start speaking about ways to actually solve problems instead of just selling things. And no one wants to hear you. The other contractors think you're crazy. Homeowners think you're crazy. You're that one crazy, I'm the crazy HVAC guy of Louisiana.
So at that point, right there, let's pause. How many employees did you have at that point?
There was probably 8 of us, okay. seven or 8 of us.
Now, if you're watching this and you're not an HVAC contractor and you're not an employer, I can tell you that I used to have employees. We had like 5 at a time at one point, and it was so stressful that I tried to quit this entire industry because of how much debt I was carrying all the time. Just constantly $50,000 in debt. Yeah, to make payroll every week. So how do you press through that moment of having 8 people in your company who you're supposed to support all of their families?
Right.
And you've got this moment where like everybody thinks that you're nuts.
How do you press through that? You turn it off. You turn off all the pushback and you stay your course. You don't give up. It's so easy to give up. And get overwhelmed with the obstructions that you're coming into. You just simply hit pause, take a breath, and push forward, and just roll with the punch. Just go to the next and continue down that road. And then after a while, especially you do the one job. You do one job. You change one person's life, and your books fill immediately, because whenever they go to the grocery store, whenever they go to the hair salon, wherever they go to the office and they talk with their coworkers and they tell somebody that, hey, my master bedroom is the furthest away from the air conditioner and that's why it's hot. And then my client says, that's not true. You need to call Dustin. He'll fix that problem for you. So we come in and we solve the problem. So we start changing their lives for the better, and they completely fill your books. You just got to convince the first customer, and the rest will find you. A lot of times from his show, but they'll find you.
Aha. So silver lining, jumping ahead to the shiny future that all the HVAC contractors who become high performance HVAC contractors can look forward to. You do get work where people are actually like educated, but they're the kind of educated client that you actually are like, I'm so glad that you went online and did some research.
Yeah, I get very engaged clients. Sometimes it's a challenge because they are very well educated. They've watched plenty of videos. They've read everything from the Building Science Corp and Energy Vanguard and everywhere else that they can get their hands on. And so they have ideas. That's actually kind of a problem, is they think that they've solved their problem because they read something. And
you are in a very unique location. You didn't pick an easy air conditioning
job.
Job.
Very hot, very humid. wet year round. Average dew point, 74 to 78, sustained, like year round. So very, very wet. Fresh air ventilation becomes exceptionally difficult because you are adding a tremendous load to the house, and placement's difficult. It is a challenging climate to work in as it pertains to home performance, and it's a critical in my state for homes to be airtight, ventilated, and very dry, because we face things such as like Formosan termites that love wet wood.
So when you get a call from somebody, and let's say, just for the sake of argument, because there are going to be these people always, somebody who has not watched our YouTube channel, somebody who has not watched Matt Reisinger's YouTube channel, or followed any of the blogs, they call you. They have this problem. What do you go in, and what diagnostics are you using? What problems are you seeing? Kind of like just big picture.
I do a lot of repairs on zonal. Lots of zonal issues.
Interesting. So wait, zoning systems or zonal pressure within rooms?
Zonal pressure.
So are you undercutting doors? You just carry a circular saw with you?
Well, pretty much. I mean, that is a way. We utilize a lot of transfer passive return strategies.
You prefer, so transfer grills, if you're not familiar, transfer grills are in walls. And normally you go into the wall cavity up high, and then you come out down low, so the sound for the sweet lovemaking that's happening in that room doesn't transfer out into the hallway. Or jumper ducts are up and over.
Right.
So you prefer transfer grills?
No. So in my market, it's very difficult to convince a homeowner to allow me to just cut holes in their wall and put grills. For whatever reason, that's always where they want to hang their family picture. So instead, the ceiling is kind of open game.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, most of our systems are in the vented attic. I do some unique things with that. So if there's a room it's an interior room and not necessarily needs to be conditioned, I will actually take the room pressure and devote that air to that space.
Cool.
To just increase the mixing of the air over there, not necessarily to condition it, but just to move air around.
And so to test the zonal pressure, you're using the manometer that came with your blower door, or?
Yeah, so I've got a couple. The DG8 by the Energy Conservatory is probably my favorite for that.
$600, fits in your pocket.
Oh, everybody should have one. If you're an HVAC contractor, buy one. It is the best investment that you can get. Basically going in rooms, testing them to determine, let me back that up. Easiest first thing you can do is you need to determine, is the house positive or negative whenever you enter it. As you enter a door, you can feel it, is one way. Obviously, use your
close it down to a crack and put your hand up to the...
And whenever I knock on the door and the door opens, I have to open the door, I literally see, is it a push or is it a pull? Like, am I pushing air, or am I feeling it come back at me?
Nice. That's like Aikido stuff you're doing there. That's very gentle.
and you can feel it. But then I reach over and I take my precision manometer and simply throw a hose outside. Leave all the doors open in the house, turn on the HVAC. Did it go negative? Did it go positive? You might have dominant supply, dominant return duct leakage.
That literally took Dustin 30 seconds to do that test, by the way. And he immediately looks different than any contractor of any kind who has ever stepped into that house. By the way, you can get false negatives with that. If there is no change, it might mean that there's no problem, or it might mean
you've got equal leakage.
Equal leakage on the supply and the return, coincidentally.
Right.
So there might be still a lot going on.
Yeah. When you're doing that, the next fun thing, where if you want to find out if you have a zonal imbalance, pressure imbalance in the house, is I call it day mode, night mode. In day mode, all the doors are open, nobody's complaining. Night mode, that's whenever somebody complains. Shut the doors. So leave that unit running, leave that hose outside, shut all the interior doors. What happened to the house? The main body of the house almost always goes negative. So you're just increasing the infiltration through the roof. The HVAC is not going to satisfy the latent load that you just put on it. You're going to have, people are going to start driving temperatures down, you name it. Literally fixing the zonal will allow me to overcome other design issues. Let's say they didn't design the equipment right. They didn't choose the right equipment. They didn't follow Manual J. They didn't follow Manual S. you can at least make a bad situation a lot better by returning the air back to where it needs to be at. It's important to remember the biggest duct in a house is the house. 100%. That door is a damper. Whenever I get called in, that's kind of my workflow. I walk in, I determine real fast, 30 seconds, like I said, it takes no time. Is it positive? Is it negative? Next step, shut all the doors. And that will give me a bigger picture of how that home performs and allow me to know other things. I can start telling the customer, hey, well, I see here, I would suspect that this is probably the coldest room in the house and this is probably the hottest room in the house. Just based off of this 2-second, 1,000-foot view that I took of the home. And because, like you said, I'm doing something they've never seen before, the confidence goes through the roof. They're willing to listen. You're no longer the crazy HVAC contractor. You are the home problem solving guru. And they listen to you and you change lives.
And so I'm so delighted to hear that people will call you saying they heard about high performance HVAC on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
That's like the goal of this YouTube channel, is to try and make those connections. But when you have those people who listen to you and then they say, wow, I really like this company. I want to work with Colair, but the budget is not, there's another guy who would do it for half the price. And do you actually have them keep your card and then they call you a year later when that system obviously fails?
Yeah. So even whenever I don't get the job, I don't count that as a non-sale. It normally takes 1 year to 2 years and you're back.
Nice.
Not always, but in many cases. So you can't feel discouraged whenever you didn't make the sale. And in fact, the best thing I can tell you is stop selling. Start solving problems. Quit caring about efficiency. Focus on comfort.
You're the boss, though.
Right.
So what advice might you have for a technician who works for a boss who doesn't actually care about any of the stuff that we're talking about right now? And then I say, hey, you should watch this YouTube video.
Sure.
You guys like, I'm going to do it.
I would tell him to, even though his boss may be focused on sales and he might be pressured to make some calls that he doesn't like to do, stay your course. Stay your course and solve the comfort problem, even then. And you will make your boss hand over fist more money. Our average tickets went through the roof whenever we changed our process and started caring about the home and not just the HVAC. Be comfortable with doing duct system optimization because it is going to be a lot of your work. Air sealing HVAC systems is a thing. It needs to be done. Your clients will get better. You will have less callbacks. You will have less, when I say a callback, they may think it's a warranty issue. And so they're calling you back and they're wasting your time. You're actually costing your boss more money. You need to be, every job that you go to needs to be a job that moves forward and you don't have to go back to. So just do it all while you're there. Take a full encompassing look, tell them their options. If they choose somebody cheaper, oh well, you will be back. You will solve the problem.
You guys only work in existing homes, or do you do new construction as well?
We do both.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very little new construction.
Okay.
That's a different animal. That's a whole nother market.
Sure. Well, let me ask you though, because I think that is important for HVAC contractors to really take confidence is the manual J report. You get a manual J report that's a real report that's doing it the right way, and it's going to tell you need 2 tons in a house that your competition would say 5 tons.
Minimum.
Or whatever.
Maybe
right?
2.
Yeah. 2 of those, two 5 tons.
Yeah, 2 5 tons. Yeah.
And so you have a blower door. So your builder says, I'm going to build this place to be X air tightness.
Right.
And then you can actually go back if it's a warranty claim that's not really, and you go back because you get calls about odor problems, comfort problems, humidity problems, whatever the problem is, it's the HVAC guy's fault. So this HVAC guy can step in and be like, test and prove that actually, nope, this is not the HVAC's fault. Right. This is the enclosure's fault, which is the other main system that we have to deal with. So do you find yourself doing that a lot where like you'll just blower door test is going to tell you?
Lots. Not necessarily on our jobs because whenever we do new construction projects, we set goal lines and that they have to achieve. And we work closely with them to ensure that they hit those marks and they don't have to go back in, tear out walls, and they don't have to go back in and figure it out. We know whenever they hand the key over to the homeowner, we're finished. So it's a little bit different approach, and not all new construction is like that. Slow down. And whenever they think they're going slow enough, slow down even more.
It's really funny. You're making new construction seem like it's a riskier and more complicated thing than working in existing homes.
It is.
And to most people who have built from scratch, I'm like, now we're gonna have to deal with all the stuff from the last 100 years in this house.
I can go into a home and I can diagnose a home and I can solve it. With a new construction, you have to hope that they did it right.
Every single thing.
Every single thing.
Right.
You can't go in and test it because it's not there yet. With an existing construction, I can do things like look at your energy use. I can do things like do a blower door, test it, use a thermal camera, find problems, solve them. It's a lot more work, but it's a lot less risk because you predict it all. You tested it.
That's very interesting. So being able to pin down all of the things that are not moving, like the anchors that are going to cause the performance issues on the duct side or the equipment side. I think that's useful because even if you're building something beautiful from scratch and you are, like in my case, the general contractor and builder who actually can enforce everything, I'll still have problems. And at that point, I need to do what Dustin is describing and go in and be able to diagnose and figure out what is causing this particular thing. Like in my case, I have a radon system, which I do recommend for almost everybody, that is depressurizing my home's interior because of leakages between my house and the sub slab, which I'm still working on, but I've got like a 2 Pascal depressurization. I have built-in dehumidifiers. Do you have built-in dehumidifiers?
I do. Yeah.
Do you recommend, is that something that you're just like, dehumidifier?
Yes, no, kinda. It's complicated. I think that every home in a green grass climate would benefit from a dehumidifier because we have a war on sensible heat. We keep on adding insulation. We keep on getting better windows. We're putting better blinds. We have a war on sensible heat, and that's the only thing that your air conditioner cares about. So with that war, you don't have runtime, and your air conditioner does a great job of dehumidifying when it's running, but it doesn't run anymore because we're saving energy. So there's every home would benefit from it. That being said, I think it's more critical to properly size equipment for maximum operation, maximum runtime, maximum latent heat removal, especially in a climate like mine. And then the dehumidifier is just there to complement.
Make sure they have bath fans.
Make sure they have
and
bath
that they
fans.
know how they work and they're supposed to use them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's drill that into them. A lot of what we do, it's counseling people. It's telling them how to live in their home. This is a bad idea. Stop it.
That is not a class in high school anymore.
No.
If it ever was. But we need it now and when we don't have it, right?
I often joke that we're counselors and therapists and building scientists and everything else all at once. And
you got to hang out in the attic.
And you need to solve all these problems in an hour because everybody thinks that it shouldn't take you any time. You should just be able to open the door and do this.
Okay, so speaking of which, and we're in the tail end here, but I want to know, when you step in, do you do diagnostics for free, or
No.
are you like?
No.
Okay, good.
Hey,
Please
do not give away your information. Know your worth and charge more. Whatever you're charging, charge more, because it doesn't matter what your competition is doing. You are worth more, 100%. We undervalue ourselves way too often. We are solving problems. We are short of their doctor. We are their first line of defense for their health and comfort and safety and everything else. You going into someone's home, stop looking at just the air conditioner. Look at everything. Look at the water heater. Does it have melted grommets? Maybe you should have a conversation. Look around. Just use your eyes. You are the first line of defense.
I heard an HVAC company who actually did charge a guy $50 for doing a water heater clean and tune.
Yeah.
And I said, this thing does flame rollout every time it fires on. And the manager's like, well, we only observe flame rollout if it happens to kick on while the guy's in the room.
Oh,
and I was like,
wow.
Yeah. So
Terrible.
Anyway, not hard to test something like that. So testing, super important. Make sure that you're thinking about this. Move forward, and He's available. Can
Yeah.
people call your
Yeah, give me a
lovely
call.
company?
All
Okay,
right.
great. And if you're a homeowner, obviously you should be working with this guy. Do you consult?
I do. It's not a focus
No.
of mine because
You got a big company, right?
yeah, our business keeps me very busy. But I do work with other local contractors and some out-of-state contractors.
Honestly, man, that is the dream. If all the other HVAC contractors in your area start getting wind that like you're making more money and you're making everybody happy, can you like teach me how to do
Right.
that? Would you teach them?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would teach them for free.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, cool. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I would teach them free. It only makes the industry better.
That is true. Okay, and so share this video, subscribe to the channel because that's what this channel is also about, and you're going to hear more from Destin down the line. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
You guys, comment below if you have things to say. If you have questions, again, I'm going to drag him over to try to answer some of those. Like and subscribe. Tune in next time.